Communication Authority for the year 2023. Annual report of the Audit Committee of the Ghana Meteorological Agency for the year 2023. Annual statement by the Audit Committee of the Postal and Courier Services Regulatory Commission for the year 2023. Annual statement by the Audit Committee of the Ministry of Communication and Digitalization for the year 2023.
Honourable members, the reports of M, I, V, and V have been duly presented. They are referred to the Committee on Roads and Transportation for on Information and Communications for consideration and report. Yes, leader.
Speaker, on page 20, N, I and II, by the Speaker, with your leave, if we could just take page 20, I, and then ours, Mr. Speaker.
No, but it has to be taken differently because they are going to be referred to different committees. So let's take them one by one. N.
Speaker, I'm just making the application for all four.
No problem.
Referral is in your...
The leave is granted.
Thank you.
Annual statement by the Audit Committee of the Ministry of Information for the year 2023. Annual statement by the Audit Committee of the New Times Corporation for the year 2023.
Honourable members, the statement has been duly presented. They are referred to the Committee on Information and Communications for consideration and report. Now, O.
Annual statement by the Audit Committee of the Ministry of Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs for the year 2023.
Honourable members, the report has been duly presented. It is referred to the Committee on Chieftaincy, Culture, and Religious Affairs for consideration and report. P.
Annual statement by the Audit Committee of the Energy Commission for the year 2023. Annual statement by the Audit Committee of the Electricity Company of Ghana for the year 2023. Annual statement by the Audit Committee of the Northern Electricity Distribution Company Limited of Ghana for the year 2023. Annual statement by the Audit Committee of the Petroleum Hub Development Corporation, Ghana for the year 2023. Annual statement by the Audit Committee of the Ghana Grid Company Limited for the year 2023.
Very well. Honourable members, the report on P, V have been duly presented. They are referred to the Committee on Energy for consideration and report. Now we turn to Q.
Mr. Speaker, given the sheer numbers contained in item listed Q, I want to take one bow and also to save the breadth of the table officers that they just mentioned, the pages on which they are captured, and do the necessary reference.
Annual statement by the Audit Committee of the Ghana Communications Technology University for the year 2023. Up to annual statement by the Audit Committee of the Nurses Training College, Pantang, for the year 2023.
Honourable members, the statement listed today as Q on page 20, from I up to XXXII, have been duly presented. They are referred to the Committee on Education for consideration and report. Are we moving to R?
Yes, Speaker, R on page 23.
Will you marry me, Lily Blossom Bloom?
Don't make me regret this. Are you okay?
Annual statement by the Audit Committee of the National Theatre of Ghana for the year 2023.
Honourable members, the report has been duly presented. It is referred to the Committee on Trade, Industry and Tourism for consideration and report.
Speaker, on same page 23S, and with your leave, if the minority chief whip will do that on behalf of the chairman.
Well. Honourable members, let's turn to page 23, item listed X by the chairman. So, Honourable
Yes.
Minority Chief Whip.
Yes, actually the majority chief whip is the chairman. I'm the vice chairman.
So,
only on his behalf.
The vice chairman will do the presentation.
Report of the Ad hoc Committee on matters relating to the general welfare of current and former members of Parliament.
Honourable members, the report has been duly presented. The reports are to be distributed to honourable members.
Speaker, this is a motion. It's not laying of papers. So, okay, when you finish the consultation.
Speaker, may I now invite you to page 58 and take item 62.
Honourable members, come with me to page 58, item listed 62, Affirmative Action, Gender Equality Bill 2024, at the consideration stage. Yes, honourable members, the consideration stage of the affirmative action, one of the important bills before us. So let me invite the chairman.
Mr. Speaker, may I please create your indulgence? The clause 1, I've had a critical look at it. we call for an amendment. But I think there's a clear distinction between the word attainment and achievement. If you have a goal, you set up a goal, you only achieve. So I'm just rising to call for us to retain the original rendition of that clause 1 without changing the word attainment as it appears in the bill.
I think the last time we met, Honorable Helen Adusu moved a motion for amendment, and the amendment was carried. So instead of achievement, we replace it with attainment. And you want to do further amendment to it, that. So you can move.
Amendment, but yes, I think we will just have to reverse it because the word,
Okay,
there are two distinct words. Yeah.
Honorable Majority Deputy Leader, I think once the amendment. Honorable Leader, are you listening to me? Yes, I'm saying once the amendment has already been carried, we can come back at the second consideration. So let's move on.
Thank you.
Okay. So who is leading the process? Yes, Reverend.
Mr. Speaker, we are on clause 3.
Yes.
We got to clause 2. Now we are on clause 3.
Yes, I'm listening.
So for clause 3, amendment proposed, sub-clause 2, delete and insert. The government shall take appropriate measures in the public and private sectors for the full integration of the people of Ghana into all spheres of development, taking into consideration gender imbalance.
Chairperson, it appears we are reading something different. Yes, Leader.
Mr. Speaker, if I could hear the justification for that amendment from the honourable member proposing the amendment on behalf of the chairman of the committee.
Yes, Reverend.
Mr. Speaker, it's the same. Page 63, clause 3. What I've read, the proposed amendment is the same as amendment proposed in 63. Yeah, page 58, Mr. Speaker, is the same. Amendment proposed on page 58, subclause 2, lines 2 and 3, delete women into all spheres of development. Insert the people of Ghana into all spheres of development, taking into consideration gender imbalance.
Yeah. So, what's the reason behind? Yeah.
The rationale is to reflect the language of the Constitution.
Yes, Leader.
Mr. Speaker, 3.3.2, the original reads, the government shall take appropriate measures in the public and private sectors for the full integration of women into all spheres of development. And I think we are saying that should be deleted and then we insert the people of Ghana into all spheres of development, taking into consideration gender imbalance. I don't understand that. Mr. Speaker, the three relates directly to the directive principles of state policy and Article 36, Clause 6. Article 36, Clause 6 of the Constitution reads, "The state shall afford equality of economic opportunity to all citizens, and in particular, the state shall take all the necessary steps so as to ensure the full integration of women into the mainstream of the economic development of Ghana." And this really reflects what is contained in the Constitution. I don't know whether this rendition is intended to amend the article. Article 36.6. This really reflects what is contained in Article 36.6 of the Constitution. So this new rendition really is to dilute what is contained in Article 36, Clause 6 of the Constitution. Look at Article 36, Clause 6 of the Constitution.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, earlier on, it was stated in the bill, it was stated that women, but the lawyers at Winnowing said, they quoted Article 35 and said, no, that, Mr. Speaker, that was also discussed at Winnowing. They said instead of women, we should state all peoples of the country. So that's how come it was changed. And the drafters were also there. So it was changed from women to all people of Ghana into all spheres of development, taking into consideration gender imbalance. That was what was stated.
Yes, another member for Aswasi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to plead with lead persons on bills. When you go for winnowing and some references are made, you have to keep the reference. You have to know them. Because if you just say that, oh, it was at winnowing that this was done, that it was quoting a constitution, and you're not referring to us the specific provision. Because when I was trying to get the understanding, I spoke to the minister, and she talked about Article 36. And that's exactly what my colleague from Swami read. That one specifically talks about women. Now you are changing it to all citizens. Well, there may be good reasons, but justify it. If you say it's also part of, it's also in reference to the Constitution, maybe it's not referring to 36.6, but it's referring to something else. But you should make reference to that, so that you can carry us along. But the way you are doing it makes it very difficult to follow, because it seems to be contradictory to 36.6, where in 36.6, that one, it was talking specifically to economic empowerment or economic development. That's 36.6. It's talking about economic development. I don't know whether this one, because this one is not only talking about economics, but it's talking about imbalance, gender imbalance generally. So if there's some specific quotations in the Constitution, because you keep talking about Article 35, I've tried to scan through 35. I'm not seeing where you are making reference. Unless maybe if you find, okay, that she's fine. So Mr. Speaker, maybe we should listen to her.
Mr. Speaker, Article 35(5) states that the state shall actively promote the integration of the peoples of Ghana, and that was what we used, and prohibit discrimination and prejudice on the grounds of place of origin, circumstances of birth, ethnic origin, gender, or religion, creed, or other beliefs. So we use Article 35(5) to state that.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I think this is a bill dealing with affirmative action, gender equality bill. And we know that the concern here is not with the integration of the peoples, which is the different ethnic groups, the different religious groups, the different social classes. That is what we mean when we speak about the integration of the people. Northern people, Southern people, Western, Central, Evers, Gans, Akan, and etc. That is the focus of that clause that you have just mentioned. But the clause that the former majority leader refers to is what really deals with the question of gender equality and the obligation of the state to take steps to try and achieve equal opportunities both in the private and public sector. I think that those who drafted the bill had that in mind when they put the original rendition there. So I plead with you to withdraw your amendment proposed, and let's leave it as it used to be, because it reflects the position of the Constitution. But even then, former majority leader is saying that even this rendition waters down what the Constitution actually obliges us to do. So we should rather go back for the original rendition of the Constitution and add it to clause 3, 2, especially because clause 3 deals with directive principles. So it is an attempt to import the directive principles into legislation, because the different courts have had different attitudes towards the interpretation and enforceability of directive principles. And so as we progress and think that some of the provisions should become part of legislation that can be enforceable, and we want to legislate them, then to water it down is to do injustice to those that the Constitution intended to benefit by making this provision. So I will urge you to rather not stick to the original one, to seek an amendment to the original one so that we replace it with what is in the Constitution, because this rendition waters down what is in the Constitution.
Minister, let me hear the minister, then I'll come back to you.
So, let me.
No, this for the purpose of I don't think so.
So, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to propose that it remains, that's 3.2, remains as it is. We just insert "to ensure," and then the full integration of women continues. Because as everybody has said, this is all about ensuring that that skewed system is corrected. We are looking for gender equity. And so for me, leaving women is fine. We should just also include the language of the Constitution, which is the mainstream of in all spheres of development. So that is how it should read. I think that is it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, the chairperson raised issues about discrimination. What we are doing here does not in any way offend the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, if we go back to Article 17, equality and freedom from discrimination, 17.2 provides, a person shall not be discriminated against on grounds of gender, race, color, ethnic origin, religion, creed, social or economic status. That is 17.2. And then 17.3 defines to discriminate. It says, for the purpose of this article, discriminate means to give different treatment to different persons, attributable only or mainly to their respective descriptions by race, place of origin, political opinions, color, gender, occupation, religion, or creed, whereby the persons of one description are subjected to disabilities or restrictions to which persons of another description are not made subject or are granted privileges or advantages which are not granted to persons of another description. Mr. Speaker, what is instructive is clause 4. And that is what this whole bill is about. Clause 4 of Article 17 reads, apart from itself, in 17.2, speaking boldly to discrimination, 17.4 then says, nothing in this article, that is Article 17, shall prevent Parliament from enacting laws that are reasonably necessary to provide, A, for the implementation of policies and programs aimed at redressing social, economic, or educational imbalance in the Ghanaian society. And it goes on. So what we are doing now is to cure the imbalance. So don't be intimidated by the provision contained in Article 17.2 and then the directive principles of state. The cure is provided under Article 17.4 of the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, thank you.
Yes, Honorable Sumasi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, upon reflection, I rather support the amendment because we need to understand what we are doing. We need to understand clearly what we are doing. Affirmative action is not about women. It's not only about women. Affirmative action everywhere in the world is defined to take care of disadvantaged groups, which women are included. So if you are not careful and you zero it on only women, tomorrow you have to come back to pass another law that has to do with minorities, has to do with fiscal challenge, has to do with other disadvantaged groups. That is why I believe the amendment was to reflect 35(5). That says that we are talking about everybody, not just women. I think that it is the short title they have there is deceptive. When they say affirmative action into bracket, gender equality, or gender, it's equality. You change that to equity. You have to remove that because you are talking about affirmative action. And everywhere in the world, affirmative action, just check, is not only about gender. It's talking about minority groups, of which women are part. So don't zero it on women, because when we zero this on women, we will be getting it wrong. Because we will pass an affirmative action bill that will be only dealing with a component of the disadvantaged groups that we have. And I don't think that's the intention. So if you look at maybe the memorandum following the bill, Mr. Speaker, we need to be careful about what we are doing. We are not talking about only women. That's why I want to agree that we should take the emphasis on the woman. No, because when you are talking about affirmative action, it's not only talking about gender, it's talking about all disadvantaged groups. Yes, so it's talking about disadvantaged groups, which women are part. So, Mr. Speaker, I would rather think that the amendments should stand. What they did at Winnowing, because, Mr. Speaker, as you may recollect, usually when we go for Winnowing, a lot of thinking goes into the formulation. That sometimes those who led the Winnowing don't find themselves in the chamber. And before you realize, those of us who didn't go for the Winnowing come to water it down. But at Winnowing, a lot of thinking goes into it. And I want to agree with the amendment. Affirmative action is not only about women. No, I'm not.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. What the Honorable Muntaka has said ordinarily is right, which is that affirmative action is about addressing imbalance. So taking action to address imbalance. And like the former majority leader has indicated, if you read Article 17, Article 17 identifies the various categories of disadvantaged groups. Okay? So you have disadvantage based on gender, which is the male, female gender. Then you have disadvantage based on race, then color, then ethnicity, then religion, creed, and social and economic status. Okay? Now, this bill has chosen one category, the category of gender, to try and deal with the imbalance in that category. Just as we have a disability-focused legislation which deals with the category of disabled persons and creates all sort of institutions to deal with the plight of disabled persons, okay? So you cannot amend this legislation, this bill, to make it general, because the focus here is on gender. So all the things that need to be done to deal with the problem of inequality based on gender. So I think that we must understand it from that very narrow perspective, that this is a bill dealing with one category, which is gender. And so we must find a way of crafting legislation that addresses the imbalances caused by gender alone, not all the other bases of inequality.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I appreciate that from what my colleague from Boko Central said. But what I want to caution the House is that then when we are not careful, tomorrow we have to come back with an affirmative action bill that deals with ethnicity. Another time, come again to deal with, religious differences. Then another time you have to, that is why we have to take advantage. That's why I was saying that this affirmative action bill is so important that we should not be seen rushing through it. Because if you do that, believe me, based on what my colleague from Boko Center said, tomorrow we have to come back here to be dealing with religious intolerance, to be dealing with ethnicity, to be dealing with all this, because it's stated in the Constitution. And like I'm saying, when you are talking about affirmative action everywhere in the world, it does not just zero on one of the disadvantaged groups. It talks about all the groups together. So it's a bill that then takes care of almost everybody together. But if we say our emphasis for this particular one is about the gender, fine, we'll carry on. But I'm only cautioning that tomorrow we'll have to find ourselves doing another affirmative action into bracket another group of people. Because, Mr. Speaker, as we sit in even our country today, a lot of minority groups' voice are sunk. To the extent that I would say that some of them are even more disadvantaged than women. But because they've not yet found their voice, yes, they've not yet found their voice and got proper representation, we seem to think that they are not there. So if we are passing a bill and we are not looking deep into the future, we may wake up to another realization of other challenges. But with what has been said, I want to agree that then we zero on the gender and concentrate on the women in this particular bill. But I will feel very disappointed that we don't take advantage to carry all the disadvantaged groups together, but we are just zeroing that. Because when I then look at the memorandum accompanying the bill, I've realized that the emphasis is just supposed to be only gender. So in that sense, well, the minister is here. That was their emphasis, and we have to carry on as that. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, I'm happy my colleague has yielded. Mr. Speaker, as the member for Boko Central said, the Article 17 that I quoted refers to areas, various facets where discrimination may occur. Mr. Speaker, what is before us is not an anti-discrimination bill, which then will refer to all of these as listed under Article 17. We are taking just one out and addressing it. And that is how I expect my colleague would appreciate. And I'm happy he has yielded. So we can make good progress.
Well. So, Minister, you came out with the way you want it to be. Can you give us the rendition for it so that we can move on?
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So, 3.2, clause 3.2 should read, the government shall take appropriate measures in the public and private sectors to ensure the full integration of women into the mainstream of all spheres of development.
Very well, honourable members.
So we can leave the, sorry.
Chair, then I think if you can withdraw your amendment so that we can. You see, there is an advertised amendment by you. If you can withdraw that. And
Mr. Speaker, I rise to withdraw the advertised amendment.
very well. So we will now take the amendment by the minister. So the question is, all those in favor of the proposed amendment by the minister, say aye.
Sorry, if we are going by that, I would prefer that we take the constitutional because it's talking about economic development. It's talking about economic development. It's talking about economic development. If you talk about all development, all spheres of development, the Speaker, for those of us who are development students, that is from archaeology to zoology. If you talk about the development, you are not careful, you'll be going to areas that government do not even have control over. But economic development is a restricted area. So I was thinking that we should rather pick as it is in the Constitution. But then it is consistent with the constitutional provision. If you look at 36(6), full integration of women into the mainstream of economic development. This one they are talking about into all space, all spheres, all species of development. All spheres of development. Yeah, spheres.
Yeah. Can I speak? Okay.
Yes, Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I acknowledge what the honourable member is saying. However, there's no need to limit it to just economic. I feel limiting it also doesn't really achieve the purpose for which we are passing this bill. We are not only looking at the economic aspect, and that's why we are requesting that it's all spheres of development. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, when you limit yourself to the construct of the Constitution, you don't normally get it wrong. And that is why I appreciate the principle espoused by the member for Asawasi. However, because the Constitution has made some distinction between economic development, cultural development, for instance, social development, if you insert all spheres of development, I think it's better. It's better because, Mr. Speaker, now, for instance, you are talking about FGM, female genital mutilation. It comes under social. Are we saying that we are going to leave that one out, for instance, because it's not economic? Educational, even though it may lead to economic development, it's granted a different space in the Constitution. And that is why I'm inclined to go along with the constructs as contained in the bill. But, Mr. Speaker, given what we are discussing here, if in future anything should ensue from it, whoever is sitting in judgment will be informed by the discourse in the House. So if my colleague would drop it, the all spheres is better. Mr. Speaker, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is an affirmative action bill touching the lives of the disadvantaged, and particularly women are seen to be disadvantaged in most areas. Economic development is just one of them. So if the Constitution mentions economic development, yes, we will say all spheres of development, and especially economic development, in accordance with the Constitution. Because I think that this is the only bill you can take and you can find the real impact of our target towards getting women fully integrated. So I think all spheres of development is okay. We can say economic development and all other areas of development so that we are sure that they are covered completely. So I think I support the minister's position. Because we can't have a situation where you say, oh, it's economic development, then it comes to political. Then you say, oh, it's not mentioned, it's not part of the things. Then women are at a disadvantage, and you say, even in their own law, we didn't mention political. We didn't mention social issues and all that. I mean, we want to see women integrated fully in all sectors and all spheres of our development structure, so that they are seen to be part and parcel of it.
Mr. Speaker, I raised it. I don't intend to drag it. My only concern usually is that, as you may know, we pass a law and then when people challenge it, then it gets for interpretation. Then they say that, look, this is what the Constitution provided, and you are providing something beyond what the Constitution has said. But like the former majority leader rightly said, when judgments are going to be taken into consideration, all these contributions are normally brought on board. So yes, I also want to agree that it is good that women get their fair share regardless of the situation. But I'm also being mindful about implementation. But once we all agree that this is what we want to do, that's fine. So I think, Mr. Speaker, you can put the question.
Honourable members, we've already spent 45 minutes on just one amendment. Yes, Honourable Ayaga.
Just to emphasize the fact that the Constitution actually mentions social development, social objectives, and then it mentions political objectives, and then it mentions economic objectives. And in each of those clauses, of the Constitution, there's specific mention of the need to achieve equality when it comes to social opportunities, and equality when it comes to political participation, and equality when it comes to economic opportunities. So I think that the rendition of the minister that all spheres of development is indeed appropriate, Mr. Speaker.
So I'll put the amendment question from the minister. All those in favor of the proposed amendment by the minister, say aye. All those against, say no. Members, the ayes have it. The proposed amendment is carried. Chairperson, are you taking the other proposed amendment on clause 3?
Yes, please. Subclause 3. Mr. Speaker, subclause 3 delete the whole of the clause. Mr. Speaker, the reason is that it was stated that a person may apply to the minister for exemption. But then the bill needs to be decisive on its policy and not to allow exemptions. So clause 3, subclause 3 is deleted.
Yes, Honourable Member, the chairperson has moved an amendment to subclause 3.
Mr. Speaker, you know the reason for this is that, like they rightly said themselves, that Ghana has ratified a lot of conventions. And when in the implementation of the affirmative actions, sometimes you are faced with a real challenge. That's why that caveat is there. So the minister will not just sit and be granting exemptions, but situation may arise that will warrant that. And that's why in the original rendition you have that. If you take it out, what you are simply going to do is that it's like you are casting everything in just a still without any opening. And Mr. Speaker, the tendency for then challenges implementation becomes very hard. But where you provide that window, that if you truly, genuinely believe that there's reason why in a particular situation you should not comply with the law, write to the minister and justify it. If you don't do that, what you are going to have is what we are currently having. You say there's a minimum wage. Go around and see, because of joblessness, people are not complying. And it's difficult for government to implement. So if you do that, you are going to open it up for even genuine persons who may want to have good reason to explain why they cannot do it. Now go under the table and be doing it. And it becomes very difficult for you to implement. So I think that we should reflect very well if we truly want to delete it and say that after the passage, you must comply no matter the circumstances, no matter the situation. So I just think that we should leave the sub plus 3.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if you look at the directive principle, it says the government shall set progressive targets for the achievement of gender equality. So everything you are doing is about gender equality. How can anybody else, after all this consideration of gender equality, still go and write a letter and say, I don't want to be considered within the space of this directive? Because it's within a situation where people are going to be considered, in terms of gender equality. So within the gender equality, you then go and write application again and say that, oh, because of my particular situation, I want to be exempted from what, Mr. Speaker? What are they to be exempted from gender equality practice principles? So I think I understand what Honorable Mutaka is talking about, but if you look at it thoroughly, it doesn't matter at all. I mean, it should be removed because all the spheres of consideration of gender equality would have been taken into consideration, within which you can no longer go and apply and say, I want to be exempted. The Speaker, that's mine.
Yes. Mr. Speaker, first of all, I thought the word we are using is equity. Because at the committee it was argued, men are not women, and women are not men. And I'm not sure there's any man or any woman attempting to be the other way around. I'm not aware of any normal man who is trying to be a woman or any woman who is trying to be a man. So the word is equity. No, you see, when there's a pay gap, when there's a disparity in the salary of a qualified woman and a qualified man, and you want that adjusted, it's equity. It is not equality. But the point you are making was argued, and the point is that we own a private tracking company, that is a haulage company, and I go and advertise for if a tracking company maybe supplies groceries to, let's say, a grocery shop. Normally they do it in the night. They need to restock in the night, 5 a.m. And I advertise. And after that advertisement, no woman applies for the job. Only men apply. And then you come to audit me under this law, and you don't find any woman join that particular recruitment. You are going to cite me for not complying. But the point, I advertise. So all I need to do for you to see is that I can prove to you we advertise that no woman applied. In that case, that company cannot be cited for breaching the act. So it is not to say that we are writing the law to say that an entity is not required to comply with this. We cannot pass a law like that. So it is not, that is not what we are saying. We are saying that, like underground mining, surely there are things in this country, and I give an example. When you are at home with your mother or your wife or something, and you come back from the shop with 25 kilo of rice, assuming you have twins, one lady and one guy, chances are that you call your son to come and offload the 25 kilo of rice from the boot of your car. You will hardly call your daughter because he's more suited to do that than your daughter. However, there are other things that you can call upon your daughter to do instead of your wife. So that is what the law is. It's not to say that all of a sudden, whatever men, yes, I've heard whatever men can do, women can do. And there are so many things that women can even do better than men. But we know that in this circumstance, it is not to equate men to women or women to men. It is about creating a clear distinction where if you cannot meet that particular requirement, it shouldn't be cited for breaching the law simply because no woman decided not to do a particular work. So that is what it is about. It's not to say they are writing this law and you can exempt yourself from complying with the law because you have decided not to recruit or give opportunity to one cannot be part of this law. And that is not what this particular clause is intended to do.
Yes, Minister, I thought it.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Rightfully said, I think the minority chief whip summed it up. The idea is not to give exemptions. That defies the purpose of this whole bill from the get-go. When you go to 26, it talks about compliance, 26, 2 and 3. There's going to be a gender equity committee that would be dealing with issues of this nature. And so from the get-go, we want to ensure that everybody complies. If there are certain situations that demand that a committee sits down to look into it, the committee will do that. So please, we need to delete this particular clause to ensure that everybody understands that compliance is what this bill seeks to achieve. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Mundaka.
Mr. Speaker, the reason for the 28 is because of that clause. 26. The committee. The reason for that committee is because of what we are deleting. Well, if you delete it, then you don't need that committee. Because of that committee, when you apply, then the minister now refers the committee for justification to look at the reasons you are giving. So if you delete 26, then you may have to delete, if you delete 3, when you get to 26, you may have to delete it. But Mr. Speaker, I just want, like Honorable Kwame, the minority whip rightly said, look at underground mining. You come from the mining area, the underground mining, they will advertise. And no woman applies. Even drilling offshore. But in compliance with this act, who do they tell that, look, this is our predicament? And that's why most of the time the minister who sits there is supposed to be, I've been very versed with the situation, so that when you apply, the minister will put it down and say, no, under these circumstances, no, go and comply. But if you make it as if it's just a one-cast thing, you must and you must, believe me, you are going to be having a lot of non-compliance. Even the constitution that we have, even entrenched clauses, sometimes people go for interpretation. For the constitution to be given other meaning. Is it the true meaning? So, but if that is what the minister wants, fine. It's important that we raise these concerns for the House to record it, so that in future when there are challenges, I'm sure all that could be made, reference could be made to those things.
Mr. Speaker, I want to join my colleague, Honorable Mutaka, to urge this House to reconsider the decision to amend to delete sub-clause 3 of clause 3. Mr. Speaker, what it says that a person may apply to the minister for exemption from the...
Zelfs tijdens de solde, minder soldenstress, meer goede deals. Dankzij onze laagste prijsgarantie.
The assumption is that some occupations can only be performed by people of a certain gender. That's the assumption. If we have a situation like that, this provision enables the employer to apply to the minister and establish this, so that the minister is then given the discretion to exempt that organization for that particular occupation. I think that, yes, we're trying to achieve gender equality, we're trying to deal with the imbalance, but let's also be practical. Let's be realistic. I think that those who originally drafted this legislation are mindful of the fact that there are some categories of jobs that are gender related, which is to say that only certain genders can perform, are more suited for performing those tasks. So let's not pretend that we don't have those situations. Mention has been made of underground mining. There are some other job disciplines that only women can perform or only men can perform. In those situations, the minister should have the discretion when it is established to her or him. We shouldn't even be assuming that the gender minister will always be a woman. The minister, for instance, what? Midwifery. Somebody has identified a job that can be done only by women, which is the... So I think that, Minister, you should give yourself that. It's a power that is given to the minister. It's power that we are giving to the minister. You may not believe in it. Other ministers may believe in the exercise of that power.
Mr. Speaker, I just want to amplify what the last speaker, Honorable Ayariga, said. But it goes beyond even the minister. We have to take into account societal norms. Let me give you a practical example. Will you want to put your female species in the war front, battlefront? Because they will perpetuate your progeny. They will make you ensure that Ghana will exist. So I don't think anybody will want, even though they can join the military, I don't think anybody will want to put the female species in front of battle. So these are practical examples that this law we must consider and make exemptions. But Honorable Mundaka, when you were given an exemption, just a small thing, you said you referred to the mining industry. Where Chirano mines, they found out that the female big trucks, the female people can drive them even more accident-free than the male counterparts. So, yes, even the huge trucks. So now there are even positive discrimination in favor of the female, personnel. So when you see their big dumps, don't assume that it's the male, your male counterpart who is driving it. I'm informing you that it's likely to be a very young lady driving those big trucks. But I thought, Mr. Speaker, I should bring that graphic example about the female fighting on the battlefront. I will never support that kind of equality because I have to perpetuate myself. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I think this solution had been pointed out by the minister when he made reference to 28, page 15. All of it is given a situation where somebody who feels that there is other inequality or cannot perform a particular task can apply to be exempted. In the particular instance, it's telling you that even though you be couched for a particular situation, like midwifery, we know it's a woman, the same woman will now go and apply and say, let me be exempted. That's what 3 is talking about. And we think that, look, we are abiding by the international obligation, which Ghana has, is a signatory. And now you are saying that within that international agreement, which we have been a signatory, you can then go back and say, oh, as for me, I want to apply for exemption. A woman who is a woman, and we all know she has all the features of a woman, you are in a company, and they are saying, do this, because normally it's a woman who do midwifery and all that. Then you will go and say that, oh, in my heart, I don't feel that I'm a woman, so I want to apply and exempt myself. Mr. Speaker, this cannot be acceptable. This cannot be acceptable. And I think that we just exempt it. If there are situations where actually there's a problem with you, you go to item 28, page 15, and then go through the normal process, apply to the minister, and then you'll be exempted. This thing is too funny and too peculiar to the things we don't seem to want to like.
So what is the position now? Minister's position. Very well. So all those in favor of the minister's position, that's the amendment he proposed, say aye. All those against say no. Honorable members, the ayes have it. The proposed amendment is carried. Now, let me put the entire clause 3. All those in favor that clause 3, as variously amended, stands part of the bill, say aye. All those against say no. Honorable members, the ayes have it. Clause 3, as variously amended, stands part of the bill. Yes, Chairperson, clause 4.
International obligations.
Clause 4 amendment proposed. Line 1, before international, insert subject to Article 75 of the Constitution, and after on, delete gender equality and equity and insert redressing gender imbalance.
Yes, that's the proposed amendment by the committee. Do I put the question? Clause 4. Yes, Honorable Muntaka.
Mr. Speaker, I don't see what is wrong with the original rendition. But when it says that to the extent that they are applicable to the Republic and consistent with the Constitution, that's the fact. Because when you go and say only Article 75, and then it turns out to have some problems with any other of the, what do you call it, articles of the Constitution, then it's okay. So leave it with the Constitution from the first page to the last page. If the law, the international agreement that you are going to sign is inconsistent with any part of our laws, we will not be able to deal with it. But if you just say you delete and put only Article 75, you are saying that those international agreements will only have to comply with Article 75. Other than that, any other, it's okay. Come again. No, that's what I'm saying. So leave it, because 75 is part of the Constitution. Because now that we are part of a treaty, there are all manner of laws that are coming internationally. And you need to be very careful. Maybe today your attention is only on Article 75. Tomorrow, they may be coming up with laws that may be inconsistent with some part of our Constitution. And then when you pick this law, it's talking about only 75. So I think you should leave it for the whole of the Constitution. That gives you a better cover than to restrict it to only Article 75. So I want the Chair and the Minister to reconsider the, what do you call it, especially the Article 75. But with the redressing gender imbalance, fine, that portion can stand. But the restriction of these to only Article 75 is problematic. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, leader.
Mr. Speaker, I also agree that we should not just subject it to Article 75. The reason is that the prime article regarding our dealings with international bodies and indeed organizations is Article 40. Article 40, which provides that in its dealings with other nations, the government shall promote and protect the interests of Ghana. That's the prime clause. So don't subject it to just Article 75. A member for Aswasi has said, Article 1(2) says, the Constitution shall be the supreme law of Ghana, and any other law found to be inconsistent with any provision of this Constitution shall, to the extent of the inconsistency, be void. So whatever law that we fashion in this House is subject to the Constitution, especially Article 1(2). So let's leave it as that. Don't predicate it on Article 75.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think I agree with Honorable Muntaka and the former majority leader. I think it should read international obligations redressing gender imbalance as set out in the first column of the second schedule are enforceable to the extent that they are applicable to the Republic and consistent with the Constitution. That's what I propose. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. Honorable members, that's the proposed amendment. All those in favor of the amendment say aye. All those against say no. Honorable members, the ayes have it. The proposed amendment is carried. And that all those in favor that clause 4 as amended stands part of the bill say aye. All those against say no. Honorable members, the ayes have it. Clause 4 is directed to stand part of the bill. Now clause 5.
Establishment of Gender Equality Committee.
Yes, Chairperson.
Clause 5, amendment proposed. Head note, delete equality and insert equity.
The chairperson is inviting us to delete equality and insert equity. That's the head note.
Speaker, I thought we agreed that consequentially we should do that. So I'm not sure why they are moving it one after the other. That if when you say gender equality, you replace it with gender equity. Because we don't see any circumstances under which gender equality will be used under this law. So, yeah, no, in fact, there cannot be a progressive journey towards gender equality. No. A man cannot be, as far as I'm concerned, a man is not a woman. A woman is not a man. Yes, so there cannot be, even with the best of evolution, I can't see when one day Dr. Afriye will become a woman.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, respectfully, I think what the justification provided by the minority chief with is rather a very narrow definition of equality in this context. I thought that what is sought now is equity, but we work progressively towards equality. Equality in terms of positions and opportunities is not about biological equality. Nobody is talking about that. You are reading it like that. You are reading it like that. Mr. Speaker, so I don't know how to better construct it. But it's about equity. The intention is to ultimately, or if you like, progressively, work towards attaining gender equality. How long it's going to take, I'm not too sure. But the intention is to work towards ultimately achieving gender equality. But for now, the bill is about equity.
Speaker, I agree, but I ask the sponsors of the bill, is there any country on the planet Earth whose aim is to get to the destination the leader is talking about? And there's none. Not even the most advanced countries have the aim of having gender equality. Because it's utopia, it doesn't even exist. Yes, I agree that the opportunities for men and women should not be discriminatory. It should be the same opportunities, and the benefits should be the same. That is what I think we are aiming at. But if we leave it just like we are aiming for gender equality, what does that mean? What is the meaning of gender equality? Yes, I agree that it's not biological, but if it's not biological, then it's not equality, it's an equity. You see, Mr. Speaker, I keep asking, yes, it's about equity, because even if you say equal opportunity for everybody, Mr. Speaker, if you were to distribute the wealth of Ghana to everybody, surely somebody will be better off than somebody. Because where we are all not starting from the same place. Because as we are here today, somebody is better off. Dr. Free condition of living is better off than some people. So even if you were to redistribute wealth and give everybody the same amount of money, by the time you finish the distribution, he's better off than somebody. That is the point I'm making. But Dr. Free, I'm not picking up on you, but you are a good example. I'm not.
May contribute to equality. Is a state of being equal, and is in an organization we want to aim. It's not about we being at the personal level, but the opportunities that are created. It's the state where we say that between the genders you can aspire to. But as for equity, when we have an equity issue, it means that society, there has been some discrimination in the past, and you want to make restitution. That is when equity kicks in. So we should not confuse those two things. And then it is, like you are saying, equality is an aspirational thing. And society, and that's why I defer towards, so it's an aspirational. So yes, we have to aspire and get closer and closer to it. So that is it. Thank you.
So, honorable members, the head note of clause 5, all those in favor of the amendment say aye. All those against say no. Number the ayes have it. Clause 5, head note, amendment is carried. Yes, clause 5, sub clause 1.
Mr. Speaker, initially we had a quiet agreement to do up to clause 4. Later, I was told it has been varied to clause 5. Which we are almost, Mr. Speaker, because the agreement is we taking a break. In fact, you have been the one sitting here all along. Take a 1 hour break and then come back. Then when we come back, we are not even coming back to this. We are coming back to other business. So if the sponsors can give us the opportunity to stop it here. Mr. Speaker, as the composition of the House is a bit precarious. So we want to balance so that we don't upset any part of the distance. So my colleagues should agree with me, Okay.
Yes.
We are pleading that we do the 5. Let's.
So we should finish the 5.
The agreement now. We are going to complete with the clauses under 5.
5 per the advertised amendment. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 amendment to only clause 5. Okay. Yes. Chairperson.
Mr. Speaker, clause 5. Amendment proposed, sub-clause 1, paragraph, sub-clause 1, delete A and insert the, and delete the minister or the representative of the minister, and insert a representative of the ministry not below the rank of a director.
Yes. There's a proposed amendment to sub-clause 1. All those in favor? 5 sub-clause 1. Can I put the question? All those in favor of the proposed amendment say aye. All those against say no. Honourable members, the ayes have it. The proposed amendment is carried. 5 sub-clause 1, paragraph B. Chairperson.
Mr. Speaker, as we know, we've decided to leave surplus 1, paragraph B, as it stands. After council insert for persons with disability, we decided that we'll stick to, the language is the same, so we'll stick to that. And the rest, you look at clause 6, 7, 8, and 9, Mr. Speaker, they are all consequential. Delete gender equality and insert equity. It's all consequential. So, Mr. Speaker, with permission from you, clauses 6, 7, 8, and 9 are all consequential.
Chairperson, I don't understand. You have advertised about 9
So you go
subclauses.
subclause 1B and say it should remain.
You've done 1, you've done 2.
Mr. Speaker, clause 5,
Yes.
subclause 1, delete A and insert there, and delete the minister or the representative of the minister and insert a representative of the minister not below the rank of a director. I'm done with that one, Mr.
Yes, honorable members, there's proposed amendment by the chairperson. All those in favor of the proposed amendment say aye. All those against say no. Honorable members, the ayes have it. The proposed amendment is carried. Yes, chairperson.
Mr. Speaker, clause 5, subclause 1B, and subparagraph V, line 2, after council insert for persons with disability. What I said was that the committee at Winnowing, we decided to let it be, to remain as it is. So there's no proposal for persons with disability, Mr. Speaker.
So are you do I put the question? Yes. So all those in favor that clause 5 so now you are dealing with clause 5 VI. Very well. All those in favor of the proposed amendment to clause 5 listed as VI in today's order paper say aye. All those against say no. No members, the ayes have it. Clause 5 listed as VI amendment is carried. So we turn to VII. The same. What about VIII? The same. So it means it goes through the entire clause 5.
So, Mr. Speaker, what she said was we are in agreement that throughout where it says equality, we are replacing with equity. That's the first part. Then there's a second part to it where we weren't sure of the language. And so we were repeating. If you look at VI. It says the Trade Union Congress nominated by the Secretary General of the Congress. We wouldn't need to repeat trade union again, and it also applies to V. The National Council for Persons with Disability nominated by the National Council. There's no need to repeat persons with disability again, so it runs through. We want it to remain as is. So we don't want the amendment here that says to insert trade union again. We do not want those amendments. So we are agreeing that wherever there's equality, we should put equity. But we don't want you to repeat trade union again. So those insertions we don't want. Mr. Speaker, please. Is that okay?
So it means you have to move that amendment. Delete trade union. Is that not?
Yes, to delete trade union. That's what the amendment wants. So we won't vote for that amendment, basically. Part that says wherever you see equality, replace with equity. For each of them, we want that. We just don't want us to
This, I'm saying VII. VII.
Yes.
Yes, that's what I'm reading.
Yes, leader.
Okay, clause 5, Mr. Speaker. Amendment proposed, sub-clause 1, paragraph B, sub-paragraph VI. Delete Secretary General of the and insert trade union.
So the proposed amendment, all those in favor say aye.
No, you don't want the amendment. Sorry. We are standing it out. We don't want the amendment. We agree that the language remains.
So that is why members were asking you to withdraw that.
Yes, that is it.
Yes, leader.
Yes, so we want.
Mr. Speaker, in this bill, Congress is not defined to mean trade union Congress. That is why you should repeat it, because Congress in this bill is not defined to mean trade union Congress. That is why we need to include it. Now, you don't want the nomination to be done by the Secretary General. So you are proposing that the nomination should be done by the TUC. The TUC itself, not the Secretary General. So it's the reason why we are proposing this amendment. So the amendment should hold.
So that was what we proposed. But during winnowing, the language, once you have specified the Trade Union Congress nominated by the Secretary General of the Congress, they were saying we are repeating Trade Union Congress again. So we agreed to it because...
Can I indicate to you, Minister, with the greatest respect, those lawyers are not draft persons. They are not draft persons. Here, for the avoidance of doubt, just because, as I told you, Congress has not been defined to mean trade union Congress. That is why you should repeat it. And that is how we have been doing the laws throughout, for decades. So those of them who don't have the experience of parliamentary practice will not be able to know this. And that's why I'm saying to you that we need the amendment captured by the chairperson is accurate. Let's adopt that.
All right. So please let us go ahead with the amendments and then we can approve these ones. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Chairperson, let's hear you. So you've moved it. You've moved the amendment.
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Okay. So I'll put the question. All those in favor of the proposed amendment on VII say aye. All those against say no. Honourable members, the ayes have it. The proposed amendment is carried. Now, what about VIII?
It's the same. Yeah. Proposed amendment, subclause 1, paragraph B, subparagraph VIII. Delete the minister and insert private sector organizations.
Yes, leader.
Mr. Speaker, I think she's referring to VII. You have jumped VII, which relates to Employment Ghana Employers Association. And the same principle should apply as you did for the TUC. So you apply the same principle, and that is why you are inserting Ghana employees. It's the same principle. So, Mr. Speaker, let's do that, and then we can go to VII. We can go to Roman number 8.
So, Chairperson, did you?
Mr. Speaker, I read out that clause 5 amendment proposed, subclause 1, paragraph B, subparagraph VII, line 2, before association, insert Ghana employers.
Well. Yes, honourable members, the proposed amendment is before us. All those in favor say aye. All those against say no. Honourable members, the ayes have it. The proposed amendment is carried. Yes.
Clause 5, amendment proposed, subclause 1, paragraph B, subparagraph VIII. Delete the minister and insert private sector organizations.
What's the rationale behind that? Chairperson or minister, is there any reason?
The lawyers proposed that at winnowing, it was said for purposes of consistency with existing legislation. For the purpose of consistency.
Yes, leader.
The Speaker, from the initial stage, you have a private sector organization. You should read private sector organizations. Delete the A. You should read private sector organizations which focus, not which focuses, which focus on gender issues nominated by the private sector organizations. That's what we mean. So the representatives should be nominated by the private sector organizations themselves, not by the minister.
That's the import of the amendment.
That's the import of the amendment. So private sector organizations, I don't know which focus on gender issues, or maybe with responsibility for gender issues, whichever is appropriate. But private sector organizations which on gender issues nominated by the private sector organizations. That is the consistency that she seeks.
So the private sector organizations So, leader, don't you think that organization will be omnibus? Who are going to be actually responsible for?
Mr. Speaker, when you grant space to organized labor, however they do it, it's not your business. When you grant space that there should be a representative from organized labor, you leave it to TUC, forum, and so on, for them to come together and nominate somebody to be there. And that's how we have been formulating the laws.
Very well. Honorable members, the proposed amendment before us, all those in favor say aye. All those against say no. Yes, the ayes have it. The proposed amendment is carried. Yes, Chairperson, X.
Amendment proposed, subclause 1, paragraph B, subparagraph IX, line 1, insert A before civil society and delete nominated by a civil society network, and after issues insert nominated by civil society organizations.
X.
Mr. Speaker, flowing from the VII, the IX should read civil society organizations nominated by civil society organizations which focus on gender issues. They should replicate what we've done in VII. That's the intent.
Chairperson, will you go with the proposal by the leader, Emeritus?
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, very well. So, honourable members, the proposed amendment by member for Swame. All those in favor of the proposed amendment say aye. All those against say no. Honourable members, the ayes have it. The proposed amendment is carried. Now, XI.
SI clause 5, amendment proposed, subclause 2, opening phrase line 2, after list, delete 10 and insert 5.
Why are you deleting 10 and insert 5?
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, the relation is a person is qualified for appointment as a member of the committee if that person has at least 10 years experience in matters relating to any of the following disciplines. So instead of 10 years, we thought 10 years was too much. That's why we had to reduce to 5.
Very well.
5 years.
Very well. Honourable members, yes, Honourable.
Yes, Speaker, my worry is trying to limit it to only this field, because a person is qualified for appointment as a member of the committee if that person has at least, now in the case, 5 years experience in matters relating to any of the following disciplines. And so they state these restricted areas. But when it comes to issue of gender and things that affect women in particular, now you've taken almost half professionals out. If you restrict it this way, health professionals are taken out. But people could be gynecologists, experts that have been treating women and know human issues, pediatrics who are handling children, including women or girls. When you do it this way, you box it. I would have preferred the way the rendition that we usually have.
experience in the house and everything points to that. Someone like me, when I first came to this house, served on the health committee, chaired the health committee. I've not been a doctor, but I believe that when we are talking about health issues in this country, I can speak to a very large extent. When you do this kind of listing, you box the areas, and I don't think that's the best. We should be able to open it by saying that areas such as not exclusive, or maybe including, to show that it's not exhaustive, but maybe the rendition, the drafter can look at that. Mr. Speaker, thank you.